So you guys might remember that last year there was this story about like a coup attempt in Venezuela that was very, very weird, very clearly poorly planned, and that was basically just stopped by a bunch of random fishermen who spotted a bunch of guys coming in on a boat and detained them at gunpoint, no problem. So it came out afterwards that this was part of an operation called Operation Gideon, and that some fucking guy who was like an ex Green Beret Spec Ops or something of Silver Corp USA, whatever that means, he signed a contract with Juan Guaido for $200 million to overthrow President Maduro of Venezuela in like a mercenary coup. And you can see right here, you know, they have the agreement signed by Juan Guaido, the president of Venezuela. Oh, okay, bud. You know, and as you can see, it didn't exactly go very well. They were basically just stopped by a bunch of random, fishermen. And then Guaido denied his involvement in the coup, despite the fact that he literally have a document with his signature on it. And it's obviously authentic. And there were other people in Guaido's team who admitted their involvement, etc., etc. It was all just a massive fracas. Like, they very obviously signed a contract with, like, this group, Silvercore USA, that, you know, despite the intent behind it being legitimate, they were never going to be able to overthrow the fucking Venezuelan government. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, a bunch of fucking random American LARPing losers from Miami, 14 of them. You think they're gonna get to Caracas from the fucking coast of Venezuela and overthrow the President Maduro? What was the idea behind that? I don't know, but I mean, it was obviously never going to work. It seems to me like they kind of got scammed by this massive, like, self-important grifters. Because, you know, they're, like, looking for someone to carry out a coup, and the best they can find is fucking Jordan Gaudreau of Silvercore USA, whose team doesn't even land in Venezuela before they get arrested, okay? And it happened again. The same year. The same fucking thing happened again in Bolivia. The Intercept recently revealed this. A couple of days ago, this story came out. It was yesterday, actually. This story came out, and based on a bunch of leaked audios and interviews and stuff with people involved, about how, like, a very similar thing was planned in Bolivia if Mas won the election last year, which they did. And as you can probably guess from the current situation, it didn't exactly go as they had envisioned, but the plan was there. So the guy in question here was the Minister of Defense under the illegitimate Janine Áñez dictatorship, Luis Fernando López. This fella. What a specimen. He got into contact with Joe Pereira, who is apparently a former civilian administrator with the US Army who was based in Bolivia at the time. Pereira apparently, like, somehow these two got into contact, and Pereira managed to convince this guy that he was capable of organizing, like, a military coup in Bolivia. You know, no problem. Like, just a massive grifter. Pereira also had a translator whose name is apparently Luis Suarez, a Bolivian American former US Army sergeant known for creating an algorithm that boosted anti-Morales tweets during the 2019 political crisis. So Suarez denied being in contact with Lopez and being involved in this, etc., but obviously that's bullshit. And, you know, you can see here they have the audios.
Following the phone call I'm having with you, I'm going to do the same to coordinate with the police authorities, with the high command. Very
interesting sort of grift here, right? And when you, like, actually look at, like, the motivations behind this, the motivations and the bullshit coming out of these guys, it's very comical. The defense minister, like, trying to justify the coup to the guys who he was supposedly contracting for it, he said, "My work right now is focused on avoiding the annihilation of my country and the arrival of Venezuelan and Cuban troops and from Iran." So there's this conspiracy theory that I've gone over on my channel in the past, which is basically dictates a right-wing conspiracy theory very common in Latin America, where basically anything that you don't like in politics is the work of evil Venezuelan Cuban agents and sometimes also Hezbollah, okay? Very common sort of right-wing conspiracy theory bullshit. It's basically like the QAnon of Latin America in a way. So this sort of indicates that the Minister of Defense of Bolivia, like, legitimately believes that to be true. He seems to really legitimately believe that that is a real threat. Because in private, in conversations with this guy that were obviously never intended to be public, he seems to have literally used that as a justification. Like, he seriously believes that if Mas won the election, which they obviously did by an overwhelming amount, that would mean that Bolivia is going to be invaded by Venezuela, Cuba, and also Iran. Very interesting brain there. I would love to have it studied scientifically, honestly. And then we get to the part which is incredibly similar to the earlier story about the incredibly pathetic Venezuela coup attempt and like the obvious like swindling that happened there. The way that these like undemocratic, sort of self-appointed or US-appointed Latin American right-wing so-called leaders just go about doing their business is very revealing about how just completely incompetent and unserious they are, right? So this Pereira guy apparently managed to convince the defense minister of the Áñez dictatorship that, like, you know, he was not going to have any problem getting them the weapons that they needed. And, you know, he was gonna get a bunch of C-130s, fucking Hercules, to ship in a bunch of troops from Miami to Bolivia. And he promises him 10,000 troops, all special forces, and 350 like law enforcement professionals. So like practically 10,500 like mercenary personnel to come and prosecute a coup in Bolivia. And one of the guys who Pereira was apparently in contact with regarding this told The Intercept that the 10,000 number was absurd and that you couldn't get 10,000 people even if Blackwater was in business and going back to Iraq. Like, obviously, right? It's a complete fucking grift. It's just a total swindler, just like making completely absurd, just tossing out these absurd numbers that he made up on the spot. Like, yeah, man, I'm really important, you know? I'll have no problem getting you, let's say 10,000 fucking special forces, Green Berets, you know, fucking SAS troops. No problem, buddy. All of them coming in here, really fucking simple and easy. You know, you don't have to worry about it, man. Don't worry. We're definitely going to be overthrowing the government. Just give me $200 million, right? And these utter fucking morons who are the best that the Latin American right wing has to offer, just buy it hook, line, and sinker. Honestly, this is like very similar to Four Seasons Total Landscaping. This is like the Latin American Four Seasons Total Landscaping, except a coup attempt, basically. Yeah, we're gonna get a bunch of fucking Hercules planes to ship in 10,000 special forces troops from Miami, man. No problem, don't worry. Just give me a couple $1 million and we'll organize it very soon. I promise. I swear, man. And they also say like Pereira suggests that this cohort of mercenaries, which obviously didn't even exist remotely, will be welcomed with open arms by Bolivians, 3.2 million of whom had voted to return the Mas to power just days previously. Very interesting thesis. And they also talked to Arturo Murillo, who was one of the first people, you know, one of the principal people guilty of multiple massacres, along with this defense minister as well. Oh, here we go. Another call entirely in Spanish, which Pereira appears to have held after his conversation with the minister, indicates that Pereira may have exaggerated the level of military support for the planned coup. Oh, wait, so he can't get 10,000 Special Forces Green Beret SAS GI Joes. Wow, never could have fought. So he said, last night I was up until 2 in the morning, almost 2:30, with intelligence reports, counterintelligence, speaking of rumors, maneuvers, and strategies. It's very worrying. People are going from left to right, right to left as they please. They're afraid. Sounds like they maybe didn't exist in the first place. Pereira's promises to bring in plane loads of guns for hire to aid the insurrection were likely overblown. Indeed. But evidence seen by The Intercept suggests that plans to deploy hundreds of mercenaries, including former US service members, to coincide with the election were well advanced in the weeks leading up to October 18th. So maybe there was actually a legitimate threat of like a coup here, despite the obvious fucking absurd shit this guy was saying that was the completely moronic Bolivian coup officials seem to have bought hook, line, and sinker. In the text of emails shared before the vote with The Intercept by a retired security contractor, Pereira is named as one of 3 organizers on the mission, The other two, David Shearman and Joe Milligan, have extensive experience in overseas counterinsurgency and covert operations. The first message, which is written by Milligan and whose recipients are described as being on the LEP/medic email chain, indicates that at least 250 contractors, including law enforcement professionals and medics, have signed up for the Bolivia project. 250. Like 250 US mercenaries ready to come and overthrow the Bolivian government if Mas wins the election. Yeah, it sounds like they did get quite further in their plans than the joke Venezuelan coup. Oh, so reached by telephone on the given number before the election, Milligan denied any knowledge of the operation, saying first he was a truck driver, then that he works at a scrap metals firm. It must be another Joe Milligan. There are several on Facebook, he added before hanging up. And then he was contacted again in June and acknowledged that the emails are authentic. SOCOM will never fail me. That sounds like a very funny line. I think SOCOM might have failed him. Like, it seems like this Pereira guy is just like a massive grifter who like just does whatever he can to like leech whatever cash he can off his supposed army officer of the special forces background. And he kind of got in over his head here. It's just like a massive grifter. Like he supposedly ran an oil and gas operation that like maybe lasted a couple of months or probably never even got off the ground. So he was detained for fraud in Bolivia related to those supposed business investments. So the guy is just like a confirmed swindler and grifter. But then, like, later on in the plan, things don't seem to have gone very well, right? Like, Mas won the election, and then afterwards, it seems like the plan went from overthrowing the legally elected government of Bolivia, which was overwhelmingly popular, to finding a way to escape the country. Lopez, the defense minister, and Murillo, the interior minister — the defense minister is the military and the interior minister is the police — basically like swapped over to just trying to escape, right? And that's the thing here, right? Like Pereira and his friend Luis, Cyber Rambo, whatever the fuck, seem to have immediately swapped over to planning their escape from the country rather than planning the 10,000 soldier military coup. What a fall from grace. Yeah, they start talking about like probably your only way of getting out of this alive, free, or as president of Bolivia is for him to pick up our call. President of Bolivia, you fucking kidding? He's shitting in his pants right now. Yeah. So Murillo and Lopez fled together across the border with Brazil on November the 5th, with the help of a Bolivian Air Force plane, shortly before corruption allegations were leveled against them. They are suspected of having received bribes after a Florida-based private security company, Bravo Tactical Solutions, secured a contract to supply Bolivia's security forces with tear gas at vastly inflated prices. And these allegations are not just some... Like, for one, these guys are guilty of a lot more than that, okay? These people literally ordered troops, like military troops and cops, to massacre 20 people who were protesting, okay? These corruption charges are just one charge. This is like the lesser charge against them, not even close to the biggest charge. But Murillo was arrested. Like, Murillo went to fucking Miami, as all good Gusano, right-wing Gusanos tend to do when they're fleeing justice, and he was arrested by the fucking FBI. His own allies betrayed him. He was arrested by the FBI on that same fucking charge for bribing or receiving a bribe from Bravo Tactical Solutions. So obviously, right, that's the strongest indication you could possibly get that the charges are true. And they're not just trumped up. Even the fucking USA is arresting this guy. And Lopez, who is the other guy involved, apparently was either smart enough not to go to the US. He's in Brazil, where obviously Bolsonaro is likely to protect him. So he's either smart enough not to go to the US, or he's such a cuck that he wasn't allowed to enter the USA. And Bolivia is trying to extradite him in the same case as well. Orellana, who was I think one of the military high commanders who prosecuted the coup, also has arrest warrants out against him. Basically everyone immediately after Mas took power, all of these fucking people just like fucking dropped everything and left, except Agnes, who is now rightfully in jail. Based. So yeah, very interesting sort of story that I think says a whole lot about not just the complete and utter incompetence of the people who, the people who undemocratically take power or seek to take power in Latin America, but also like how there is like this bustling community of grifters, especially in Florida, who are just sitting there ready and willing to like offer these complete morons obvious swindles that they just buy hook, line, and sinker. And, they're just happy to give them whatever money Washington has funded them with. Now, obviously, like every single person involved in this case, from the minister, Murillo, Lopez, Orellana, they all need to be prosecuted for the Sacaba and Sencata massacres, where they just flat out opened fire on 20 protesters and murdered them, as has been confirmed by multiple international investigations, such as those by the OAS itself, by Harvard University's Human Rights Project, etc., etc. Like 3 different international investigations confirm what happened. So these people need to be extradited to Bolivia to face trial for that, especially along with these other charges. But right now, they're being protected in Brazil by Bolsonaro. At least most of them are being protected in Brazil. Murillo couldn't even find protection in the USA. Classic Miami moment. You go to Miami thinking that you're safe. No, motherfucker, even the USA hates you. Cucked by your own fucking allies. But yeah, every single one of these people needs to be in jail for the rest of their life, basically. I can't fucking wait. When Lula wins the next election in Brazil and ends up extraditing these fuckers, it's going to be based. So yeah, that's just like an example for you all of how just utterly incompetent, conspirational, stupid, like every negative adjective you could possibly imagine applies to not just the Bolivian right wing, the Venezuelan right wing, Latin American right wing in general. Like they're just the sons of rich people, the sons and daughters of rich people who are utterly convinced that they are superior, even though it's just self-evident that they are some of the stupidest people in existence. Not just based off what I told you, but of everything else as well. Like, that guy legitimately fucking believes, no joke, legitimately believes that Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran are plotting to invade Bolivia. And that if Mas wins, Iran, Cuba, and Venezuela are going to invade Bolivia. What fucking level of moron is that? Like, what level of brainworms, of pure, it's like the best that the right wing has to offer is these people who are like your mum on Facebook. The Latin American right wing is just like a series of Facebook mums who believe everything that like some random right wing Facebook page tells them, except they're in these positions of power and stuff.